Think you know your cheese? Take another
Know
look in
your
your fridge.
cheese?
That jar of Parmesan you just sprinkled on your pasta could very well be laced with wood pulp. That bright orange slice of cheddar? It's actually a visual lie created by food dye. And that slice with the holes you confidently call Swiss
That jar of
cheese
Parmesan
likely
you
has
just sprinkled on your
absolutely zero
pasta?
ties to Switzerland. Welcome to the world of cheese, where centuries-old culinary art is being
Could very
manipulated by
well
the
be laced with
spectacular deceptions of a billion-dollar industry. Today, we are unmasking the 8 most famous cheeses on Earth to find out
That
what is
bright
true
orange
culinary
slice of cheddar?
perfection and what is just a flashy scam. Let's start with mozzarella, the undisputed king of pizza and the cheese that conquered the globe. But that stretchy block sitting in your fridge right now? It is almost certainly an
and
imposter.
that slice
True
with the
mozzarella was
holes.
born in the 12th century near Naples, Italy, where monks stumbled upon a magical process. They
You
discovered that if you
confidently
heat
call
fresh
Swiss
curds and
cheese
stretch them
likely
while they
has
are screaming
absolutely
hot,
zero
you get an
ties to
impossibly
Switzerland.
soft, milky cheese that pulls apart in delicate strings. This
Welcome
ancient
to the
technique is
world of
called pasta filata, and it is the
cheese.
exact scientific reason why your pizza has that glorious, iconic cheese pull. But here is the massive twist. Authentic mozzarella is strictly made from the milk of water buffaloes,
Is
not
being
cows.
manipulated by the
Water buffalo
spectacular
milk is
deceptions.
incredibly rich, fatty, and packs a tangy punch that completely blows regular
Of a
cow's milk out of the
billion-dollar
water.
industry.
Because it is so rare, real buffalo mozzarella is a true delicacy that costs 3 to 4 times more and only
Today,
survives a few
we are
days floating in its
unmasking
salty
the
brine.
eight
So,
most
what are you
famous
actually
cheeses
eating?
on Earth.
When Italian immigrants opened
To
pizzerias
find
in New
out
York, they
what
needed an
is true
affordable, meltable
culinary
cheese.
perfection.
Mass producers quickly switched to standard cow's milk, creating a
And
cheaper,
what is just a
milder
flashy
imitation
scam.
called fior di latte to scale up production and maximize profits. The entire world happily settled for this
Let's
cheap
start with
knockoff,
mozzarella.
but local Italians can taste the deception instantly. Next up is cheddar. You probably picture a bright orange block when you hear the name, but that vibrant
The
color is actually a
undisputed king of
centuries-old
pizza.
lie. Born over 800 years ago in the English village of Cheddar
And
in
the cheese
Somerset,
that
this
conquered the
cheese was
globe.
originally aged in cool limestone caves. The name itself comes from cheddaring, a grueling process of stacking and turning slabs of
Like
curd
that
to drain
stretchy block
moisture,
sitting in your
creating
fridge
its
right now?
signature dense and crumbly texture. The real magic happens during the aging process. While mild cheddar sits for just 2 to 3 months, extra sharp versions age for over 2 years.
True
During
mozzarella
this
was
long
born in
sleep,
the 12th century
fascinating
near
crunchy
Naples,
chunks
Italy,
form inside the cheese. These are calcium lactate crystals, and true
where
cheese
monks
nerds consider
stumbled
them the
upon the
ultimate
magical
sign of premium
process.
quality. But here is the great deception. Real cheddar is naturally pale yellow or even
They
white.
discovered that
In the
if you
17th
heat
century,
fresh
cheesemakers
curds
started dyeing it with annatto,
and
a
stretch
natural
them while they
pigment
are
from ajote
screaming
seeds,
hot,
just to make it look richer and trick buyers. Americans became so obsessed with this fake orange hue that it became the standard. To add insult to injury,
Milky
the U.S.
cheese that
state of
pulls
Wisconsin
apart
now
in delicate
produces
strings.
significantly more cheddar than anywhere else in the world, leaving the British incredibly salty about losing their own cheese crown. Let's move to Parmesan, universally crowned as the king of
This
cheeses.
ancient
But if
technique
you
is
are
called
sprinkling that
pasta
pre-grated stuff
filata,
from a plastic shaker onto your pasta, you might literally
and
be
it is the
eating wood.
exact
Real
scientific reason
Parmesan is
why
strictly
your
called
pizza has that
Parmigiano-Reggiano,
glorious.
and it is a culinary masterpiece
Keeps
bound by
going.
rules that haven't changed in over
I've
900
never
years.
seen a cheese
It can
pull like
only be
this.
produced in specific Italian regions like Parma and Modena. The cows must graze exclusively on local grass and hay, absolutely no fermented feed allowed. The milk is formed
Authentic
into massive
mozzarella is
80
strictly
pound
made from the
wheels
milk
and
of
aged for
water
a minimum of
buffaloes,
12
not
months,
cows.
though the absolute best wheels rest in vaults for 36 months or more. This grueling weight creates a beautiful granular, crystalline texture packed with an intensely nutty umami bomb flavor. Each wheel is rigorously inspected. If it fails, the official seal is aggressively scraped off. Now,
Because it is so
prepare for the
rare,
massive
real
US
buffalo
scandal.
mozzarella
Because
is
the
a
name
true
Parmesan isn't
delicacy.
legally protected in America, corporations sell
That
pre-grated
costs three
imitation
to four
garbage.
times more.
Worse, many major brands pump their cheap cheese full of cellulose, literally wood pulp,
Here
just to
is your
prevent
fresh
clumping.
mozzarella.
Italians are
Thank you
furious
very
but
much.
completely
It's
powerless to stop
wonderful.
it. Now, let's talk about Gouda. When you hear the name, you probably
So what are
picture
you
those
actually
cute,
eating?
tiny red wax wheels sitting in the supermarket deli. But those little wheels are hiding a massive secret. They are barely even real Gouda. Originating in the Netherlands in the 12th century,
When
Gouda
Italian
gets its
immigrants
name from the
opened
Dutch city
pizzerias
where
in New York,
farmers
They
historically brought
needed
their
an
cheese to
affordable,
trade.
meltable cheese.
Originally, The signature wax coating was an ingenious survival tactic invented to lock in moisture and preserve the precious milk through long,
Mass
brutal
producers quickly
winters.
switched to
The
standard
true
cow's milk,
magic of Gouda
creating a
lies
cheaper,
in the
milder
aging
imitation,
process. Young
Pulp.
Gouda is mild, creamy, and slightly sweet, but when left to age for 5 to 7 years, it transforms into an entirely different beast. It becomes hard and crystalline, developing a deep, rich flavor profile packed with intense notes of caramel and butterscotch. It even forms tiny, crunchy tyrosine crystals that shatter in your mouth like flaky sea salt. Here is the bitter truth. Those iconic red wax baby Goudas sold worldwide are engineered specifically for mild American palates. They are rushed out of the factory after aging for a pathetic 4 to 6 weeks. You are essentially eating cheese infancy. If you have never bitten into the crunchy, caramel depths of a truly aged Dutch wheel, you have never actually experienced what Gouda was meant to be. Next up is Swiss, the holy cheese everyone recognizes from cartoons. But what you are buying at the deli is likely a rubbery, flavorless imposter. Real Swiss cheese is actually called Emmental, originating in Switzerland's Emme Valley back in the 13th century. Those iconic holes, professionally known as eyes, are not just for show. They are formed by carbon dioxide bubbles released by bacteria during a rigorous aging process. Traditionally, masterful cheesemakers craft massive 200-pound wheels, aging them for several months or even over a year. This painstaking method produces a wonderfully complex, nutty, and slightly sweet flavor profile that is light years away from the bland slices on your sandwich. Here is the devastating commercial reality. The generic term Swiss cheese has zero international trademark protection. Because the Swiss actually lost their legal battle in international courts, anyone can punch holes in cheap dairy and legally call it Swiss. American mass-produced versions use pasteurized milk and slash the aging time to almost nothing, resulting in a plastic, rubber-like texture. Yet, this cheap fake version wildly outsells authentic Emmental worldwide. Let's talk about Feta, Greece's ultimate gift to salads. But if you are buying it pre-crumbled in a plastic tub, you are ruining your meal with a dry, flavorless lie. Feta is an ancient culinary treasure. With roots stretching back thousands of years, it was even famously mentioned in Homer's Odyssey. For centuries, true Greek artisans have crafted this masterpiece using strictly sheep's milk, or a precise blend of sheep and goat's milk. Absolutely no cow's milk is allowed in the authentic recipe. The secret to its iconic punch lies in the traditional brining process. Submerging the fresh cheese blocks in salt water creates a beautifully crumbly yet creamy texture while developing a sharp, tangy, and delightfully sour flavor profile. When you open a real tub of feta, that pungent aroma should hit your senses instantly. Here is the massive international scam. While the EU legally protects feta, companies in the US and Denmark mass-produce cheap imitations using standard cow's milk, resulting in a bland, rubbery disaster. Denmark even fought a bitter legal war to keep using the name, and lost. To make matters worse, those pre-crumbled containers sold for convenience are the absolute lowest quality scraps, dried out and stripped of their soul. Stop eating rubbery fakes and demand the real Greek masterpiece. Now, prepare yourself for Brie. If you live in America, the FDA has literally made it illegal for you to taste the authentic version of this French masterpiece. Dating all the way back to the 8th century, Brie was so deeply revered by the French monarchy that it was officially crowned the King of Cheeses by elite diplomats at the historic Congress of Vienna in 1815. The true magic lies in its traditional production. Artisans add specific mold cultures to raw, unpasteurized cow's milk. The resulting white, fuzzy rind is completely edible and imparts an earthy, mushroomy flavor. As true Brie reaches perfect ripeness, the interior breaks down into a pungent, ultra-creamy, almost liquid center that oozes luxuriously the second you slice into the wheel. Here is the heartbreaking legal reality. Because authentic French Brie relies on raw milk and ages for less than 60 days, strict FDA food safety laws ban it from ever entering the US. To bypass these rules, American producers create a pasteurized imitation. The heat makes it safe, but kills the complex flavors, leaving a firm, chalky, and tragically boring cheese. If you have only ever eaten pasteurized American Brie, you have never actually tasted the king. Finally, we arrive at blue cheese, the moldy masterpiece that aggressively divides humanity into obsessed lovers and disgusted haters. But if you think you love it just because of that creamy salad dressing, you are being completely scammed. The origin of this controversial cheese is actually a beautifully disgusting accident. Centuries ago, someone accidentally left a piece of half-eaten bread inside a damp cave alongside some aging cheese. The Penicillium roqueforti mold jumped from the rotting bread straight into the cheese curds. Today, master cheesemakers intentionally inject these living mold spores directly into the wheels. As it ages, those iconic blue-green veins spread through the cheese like a root system. The living mold aggressively breaks down fats and proteins, creating a sharp, intensely tangy flavor profile. The science behind its polarizing smell is wild. The intense funk literally comes from the exact same chemical compounds found in human body odor and smelly feet, which perfectly explains why some people gag while others absolutely crave it. But here is the ultimate American insult to this intense cheese. The beloved blue cheese dressing served at sports bars and supermarkets contains almost zero actual blue cheese. Purists refuse to even acknowledge its existence. It is nothing more than a cheap, heavy mixture of mayonnaise and buttermilk sprinkled with a few token, flavorless crumbles just to legally justify the name on the bottle. Real blue cheese shouldn't be a mild dip. It should make your eyes water and your taste buds sing. Behind the spectacular deceptions of the multi-billion-dollar cheese industry lies more than just commercial trickery. It provides a razor-sharp lens through which we can examine modern society and how we navigate our own lives. From the commercialization of centuries-old artisanal cheeses, we can extract profound philosophical lessons about authenticity, the enduring value of patience, and the courage to maintain our core identity in a world that constantly demands conformity. We live in an era where superficial appearances and immediate convenience reign supreme. Consider how mass producers have dyed cheddar cheese a vibrant, unnatural orange for centuries simply to deceive the buyer's eye, or how they substituted rich water buffalo milk with cheap industrial cow's milk to maximize mozzarella profits. In our daily lives, we are constantly lured by similar dyed illusions, the heavily curated facades on social media, artificially inflated definitions of success, or relationships that look picture perfect on the outside but lack genuine depth. The lesson here is to train your eyes to see past the bright red wax of a young, flavorless Gouda or the fake orange hue of factory-made cheddar. We must actively seek out raw authenticity, even if its outward appearance is pale, unpolished, or rugged. The superficial coating will eventually melt away, but the intrinsic core value is what sustains us through the long haul. Modern society relentlessly glorifies hustle culture and the illusion of overnight success. We are conditioned to desire immediate gratification, much like the factories that push out rubbery Gouda wheels after a mere 4 weeks, or the corporations churning out fake Swiss cheese using heavily expedited processes. Yet, science and history consistently prove that true excellence cannot be rushed. The explosive, unforgettable umami flavor of Parmigiano-Reggiano, the true king of cheeses, and the delightful, crunchy caramel crystals of an authentic Dutch Gouda can only be forged after thousands of days resting silently in the dark isolation of an aging cellar. Greatness never takes shortcuts. When applied to your career or personal development, do not feel pressured when you see others achieving forced ripening. Give yourself the grace, space, and time to hone your craft. A long-aged version of yourself will inherently carry far more value and profound depth than the millions of mass-produced, cookie-cutter personas out there. Blue cheese stands as a magnificent testament to the power of living true to your fundamental nature. It is pungent, aggressive, literally born from mold, and creates absolute polarization. People either crave it passionately or are deeply repulsed by it. However, the true tragedy of blue cheese is not that some people hate it. The real tragedy occurs when it is heavily diluted with cheap mayonnaise to create a bland, watery salad dressing just to appease the masses. The same principle applies to human nature. If you constantly chip away at your unique edges, hide your sharpest opinions, and suppress your quirks merely to blend in, you will inevitably become a diluted, flavorless version of yourself. Have the courage to embrace your own blue veins. The people who truly belong in your life will appreciate and love you precisely for that sharp, unapologetic, and distinct edge. The heartbreaking truth about mass-market cheese reveals a harsh reality. Without fierce protection and self-respect, even the most priceless heritage can be reduced to a cheap commodity bulked up with wood pulp. The practical solution for each of us is to become an awakened consumer in every aspect of existence, not just in the food we ingest, but in the media we consume, the relationships we nurture, and the life standards we accept. Set uncompromising boundaries for yourself and protect your personal integrity with the same ferocious intensity that the Italians used to protect